Hello everyone, it's Bronte Spicer. How are you? Hope you're doing well. So this video is my first video for 2022 and I'm very excited to be back. I've had a beautiful break and I hope you guys have as well. So this video is introducing you to my free ebook, which is for teachers, and it's called Reinventing Resilience in the Classroom. So this ebook I put together towards the end of editing my book, It's Okay to Cry, which came out in October last year, which many of you have been telling me all of your feedback. So it's really been beautiful to hear from you all. And more of you keep buying the book, so that's just so exciting, and I'm glad you're getting so much out of it. So, when I wrote It's Okay to Cry, I went through this big realization that in schools and as we grow up, we're never really taught how to feel our feelings in our bodies. And in my own research, in just talking to people, I've realized that some people just learn and know and are more aware of their feelings in their bodies, and other people aren't. And my own personal experience was I had depression for over 22 years and I dissolved or overcame my depression using the Killer Bee inquiries, which is a set of advanced mindfulness or self-inquiry tools and techniques to unhook that we use to unhook from our negative self-talk and also to process difficult, challenging, bad memories. So, since realizing that this piece was missing for me after so long, I was never, having been through 2 decades worth of talk therapy, I was never actually shown how to feel my feelings. And I was very afraid of going towards my pain. And it wasn't until I stumbled across the Killer Bee inquiries that I was shown how to feel safe with the feelings in my body. So as I was editing It's Okay to Cry, being a teacher, I taught across a decade before I had my kids and started this business. Um, so I have, you know, a deep passion to teach kids, as teachers do, and having this realizing, oh my gosh, we just are not taught this in schools. We're not taught how to feel our feelings in our bodies. Often we think about emotions being this elusive thing that we don't really know how to get to. We often talk about our feelings, we talk about our problems, which is a lot of what we do in talk therapy. We talk about our feelings, we talk about how we feel. But when we talk about our feelings, that's a cognitive process, it's a thinking process, and it's not a feeling based, body based, or somatic based process. And you can't actually think and feel at the same time. So we're either thinking or we're feeling. So, so what's really important is that we're teaching our students how, and our children, if you're watching and you're a parent, that we're teaching them how to bring their attention into their bodies so they can feel and connect with and be with and support and care and tend to the physical sensations that are in their bodies. If we don't do that, and this is what I've put um, in the ebook for teachers, is that what happens if we don't feel and process and stay in contact and connection with the physical sensations, with our emotions in our bodies, we have a buildup of emotional baggage, of emotional memory. And so that it can feel like a heavy backpack. So by the time we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, it feels really heavy and it feels like we have a lot of stuff under our bonnet that we need to process. And I'm sure many of us, if not all of us, can relate to that. We have these experiences over time and they're not processed, and we haven't integrated the experiences that we've had, particularly those challenging ones. So, what the techniques and the tools and strategies that I've put in this ebook do is they teach and show teachers how to help our students have a strong connection to their feelings in their bodies. And so that the fancy term is interoception. So interoception is being aware of and noticing the body sensations. No, being aware of those subtle sensations, or maybe not so subtle sensations if you're experiencing depression or anxiety. That's like the intense experience of a sensation where a typical, I mean, depression and anxiety is different for different people, but for me, the intensity of that sense of depression or feelings that came with depression was a deep heaviness, whereas anxiety can typically be like a tightness of the chest, as an example, and they can be really quite intense. So what happens is if our students are not learning how to feel safe with and be with and care for, support, befriend the physical sensations inside our bodies, then we can have what is called dissociation, and that's what that means is that you're disconnecting your body and your mind. And this was very much my case. This is what happened for me. I was disconnected. I had created unconsciously a disconnect. I had dissociated from my body because I had so much unprocessed baggage or trauma or emotional memory in my body. So, what can happen is over time, that sense of going towards our feelings can get even scarier and scarier, and then we end up we can end up with depression and anxiety because we're holding so much emotional baggage and stored trauma in our body. And that can have an impact on our nervous system. And our nervous system can either get stuck in the fight flight response, which is that kind of agitated, anxious state, or it can get stuck in the freeze or fawn or please state, which is where we retreat and withdraw, and we don't we where we can be submissive, we can abandon ourselves and put other people first, and feel selfish if we're doing things for ourselves. So both ends of those spectrums are not in balance, and what we really want is to be connected in that rest digest space in terms of our nervous system. So we do have three nervous system states: the rest digest, the fight flight, and the freeze please or freeze fawn response. So, if you are a teacher who wants to know some really simple, easy, quick classroom strategies that you can use in your classroom as soon as you get this ebook, then grab this from brontespicer.com. So this is the homepage of my website, and you'll get this for free. So I take you through, first of all, I explain what interoception is, which I've given you a bit of a rundown, and I explain why it's so important that we are teaching interoception. So we do want to teach emotional literacy and naming, labeling, but we also want to offer this body-based, somatic-based, feeling-based skill. So we want our students to have strong interoceptive skills, and that is them connecting to their bodies. I also explain in the ebook what is trauma and how does it impact interoception. So if you have students who have experienced uh, whether it's big trauma or little trauma, that will affect how they can connect with the sensations in their bodies. And so we want to keep this open line, this open connection line between the mind and the body. I also explain what modern neuroscience tells us about trauma and interoception. So it's very exciting because all of this latest neuroscience really supports why it's vital that we are teaching our students how to feel their feelings as well as label their feelings. I've also share with you what benefits you will see in the classroom as a result of your students learning interoception. Um, and I have included the 4 steps to feel our feelings, the 4 steps to feeling our feelings. So I've made this very light, very easy, very practical. And then you'll find strategies for each of the steps. So the first step for feeling your feelings is to return to calm, and you've got a whole heap of nervous system regulation strategies that you can use, simple breathing strategies and soothing techniques. That's fairly, we're already kind of doing that, but if you're not doing it, it kind of gives you a bit of an intro to it. But mindfulness is pretty popular in schools, which is great. That's the first step. And then we also need to take our students further than that. So step 2 is identify and describe the feeling. So I've given you both whole class strategies and one-on-one strategies. You've also got whole group strategy and modeled one-on-one strategies for showing your students how to stay with their feelings when it's whether it's big or challenging or just okay. And step 4 is to use a tool to befriend a big feeling. So I've given you modeled one-on-one strategies that you can model to your students, and you can also guide your students with questions to help them befriend a big feeling. So what's most important here is that we're teaching our students how to stay with themselves so they don't have to escape themselves, they don't have to reach for a distraction. We're actually instilling these powerful resources within themselves that they can call on when they are experiencing either a challenge, a negative thought, negative belief about themselves or about the world, or they're having a big challenging feeling that's uncomfortable to be with. So we're really supporting our students to be resourceful here, where they can stay connected with themselves and they don't have to escape or distract themselves or become overwhelmed or retreat. Um, yeah, so let me know if you have any questions. This ebook is free and it's for all teachers. Of course, if you're not a teacher but you're just interested, then please grab it as well. It's for you to use. It goes in conjunction with my book, It's Okay to Cry, particularly chapter 9, which is where I talk about how we can improve our education system and our mental health system, supporting everyone so we are connected to our feelings, and and as a result we have a strong sense of connection with ourselves, and we feel safe within ourselves, we feel like we belong to ourselves, and then from then when we have a strong connection to ourselves, then we can connect and feel safe with other people around us and the world around us at large. So let me know if you have any questions. And I will remind you too that for the month of February, I am dedicating myself to offering as much information as I can on for teachers who are wanting to know how to support their students through the pandemic, and also themselves as well. So I have a free webinar which you'll find in the School Wellbeing tab of my website, and it's called How to Support Students with Their Mental Health and Yours During the Pandemic Without Adding to Your Workload. So that's on Tuesday, the 22nd of the 2nd, so in 20 days, 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and that will be going to, I'll just be giving you some really practical Well, I'll give you a little bit of theory as to why this is so important, such important work to include interoception into your emotional well-being. And then I'll also give you some very practical classroom, quick and easy strategies that you can use in the classroom with your students to give them the tools that they need to have great mental health. Take care, lovelies, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll come back and answer them in the comments. Bye.